In 2005, Israel evacuated all of her citizens from the Gaza Strip. This act was called a unilateral separation. The settlements were no longer there, and the Palestinian freedom fighters didn't have much to fight for anymore. But terror organization Hamas, which controls Gaza, is unwilling and incapable of building a peaceful life. The terrorist organizations live on others' expenses. Their economy is a parasite economy. In order to maintain it, there are two things that must happen. First, there's the need for an ongoing distraction to gain humanitarian aid. And second, you must have an outside enemy. This is the reason the Islamists attack the border passages that are being used by Palestinian civilians to go to work in Israel. They shoot at the gasoline terminals through which Israel supplies petrol to the Palestinian people. Why? Think for yourselves, and I'm sure you'll get it. Israel will close the borders, stop the petrol supply, and in Gaza they will get the opportunity to shout to the world of a humanitarian crisis. And who will be accused of all of this? You guessed it right. And now, the recipe for the easy creation of the ultimate homemade weapon. You take an improvised rocket, very cheap killing tool, a water pipe and 1 kilogram of explosive, rocket fuel, mineral compost, and ordinary sugar. Both, by the way, are on the humanitarian product list. For over 8 years, Israeli cities are under non-stop rocket attacks. Islamists who don't know and don't care to know anything else but war fired into Israel over 4,500 rockets, missiles, and mortar shells. The Qassam rocket only flies for 15 seconds. And in those 15 seconds, a schoolboy barely manages to take cover under his desk. For years, hundreds of thousands of Israelis can't sleep, study, or work. They live their lives in constant fear so that even the sound of a noisy squeak of a bus braking reminds them of the whistle of the rockets. In the past 8 years, over 20 Israelis were killed from rocket hits, and over 400 have suffered from different levels of injury. The world media only covers the biggest terror attacks with multiple casualties. Every minute on air is costly. You will not hear about the Palestinian terror attacks, and in the papers they will only mention them on the back pages and in small letters. But Israeli citizens see these terrorists on their news every single day. This is Israel reality, and because of that, chances are that you don't even know why Israel is fighting in Gaza. And now, the international news channels have everything they need to create another evening show. Tanks, explosions, injured kids, and people that lost their homes. These are the moneymakers for the TV channels, and also for Hamas. But a big loss for the state of Israel, who wants to finish this age of war in the region, but has no other way to defend her civilians. And exactly for that reason, thousands of Israeli military reserves left their homes and families to go and protect Israel.